I try to keep an eye out for games that are right up my alley, and some of my favorites of all time are Terraria, any Souls game, Baldur's Gate 3, and that probably sums up a lot of my taste. So when scouting through the upcoming games on Steam, I happened to stumble upon Drova, Forsaken Kin. It's labeled as a Souls-like, open-world CRPG, and that alone is a pretty interesting combination. Its top-down perspective and pixel graphics caught my eye, and the medieval setting is probably my favorite setting to play, so it looked like a pretty promising game, but we all know how that goes. Plenty of good-looking games have flopped. It's been a long time since I've been this surprised by a game. I'm Sam the Ashen, and this is Drova Forsaken Kin. Drova came out this month in October 2024 for $25, and strangely enough also dropped on console and Switch. It's got less than 100 reviews on PS5 at 4.9 stars out of 5, and 1,000 reviews on Steam with a whopping 97% positive rating. So suffice to say that not too many people have played this game yet, but the ones who have absolutely loved it. And I'm not going to try to tease out my answer further into the video, it would be way too hard. Drova is hands down an absolute classic in the making. The game makes me want to give it a standing ovation. Just give me some time to explain why. It's honestly kind of hard to break the review up into sections because of how well interconnected everything is, but I'll do my best. I'll start off with the world and the story. You wind up following your village druids into the forest when they are looking for another realm called Drova, and you can't help but follow them. You wind up going into the world with them, and soon you're the only survivor. Right away, the world opens up, and every little corner is just begging to be explored. No matter where you go, you'll find some critters hanging out by some fruit or a water source, or you'll find a rare plant, or a ravenous wolf, or a lone road leading to the unknown. I have over 50 hours into this game already, and plenty of them are just from exploring around the world because it's so enjoyable. I am not one for really slow games, and this game kept me exploring by making sure to have beautiful handcrafted map with something new waiting to be discovered no matter which direction you chose to go. You might wind up at the woodcutter camp with a group of people just trying to get by, and they're distrustful of outsiders, but they need help to find food, to build bridges, to protect people from the rippers, and they can't deny help when it's offered, so your character has a chance here to make some friends, to get a warm place to sleep, some gear, some food, some coins. Or if your character wants nothing to do with it, you can tell them that you're not interested, sneak into their camp at night, and rob them blind. But it's a dangerous world, and having friends can pay off. You soon learn that there are two major factions in Drova, and you kinda get the feeling you'll end up having to pick a side at some point. Fortunately, you are free to explore both factions to a certain extent to see which is the lesser evil, or who benefits you the most. Unfortunately, these groups are pretty wary of anyone who is new to the area and has yet to prove themselves. So yes, you do have to do the stereotypical thing where you have to prove yourself to go further, but the quests themselves make up for this by being unique, giving you choices on how to complete the quest, and thinking outside the box, having well-written characters and believable dialogue. For me, all this came together to make even some of the more tame quests, like going to talk to someone, much more entertaining. The combat in Drova is real-time, and you start off with options for melee like a sword and shield, an axe, spears, daggers. They all have their own movesets and different ranges depending on the weapon. Usually you have a 2-hit combo until you unlock a more powerful third attack later on. One of the things that I like about the combat is the timing mechanic. If you time your swings right after another, the next attack comes out faster, and the recovery is faster. The timing is different for each weapon too, and it's indicated by your weapon cursor turning gold for a moment, giving you a hint on when to time your attacks. This added another small layer onto the combat to keep players engaged, which I enjoyed. In Drova, you could find yourself fighting a rabid rat-looking creature and mosquitoes, to ravenous rippers, to monstrous harpies, to underground rock trolls to other humans. The enemy variety in this game is really solid, and most importantly, they behave very differently. The Rippers like to chomp at you, and if you try to keep your distance, they will lunge at you from afar. The mosquitoes will hover around and then fly at you. The rock troll will throw rocks and smash down, causing a small cave-in. Having enemy variety is really important, but arguably more important is having the enemies actually have different movesets and AI. And Drova excels at this. As for getting stronger, you have multiple things to work on. You can find new weapons out in the world while you explore, but getting a crazy high level weapon doesn't really help you all that much because your power level has to match the weapons. This is where the teachers and the leveling comes in. There are tons of people out in the world that are willing to teach you for a price. Some want gold and others might need a favor. But random people aren't jack of all trades, pretty much no one is. So if you want to train your bow skills and unlock new abilities, you might have to go into the forest looking for a hunter. If you want to train your axe or your sword skills, you might have to go to an arena to find a warrior. If you want to train your daggers or lockpicking, you might have to find a lonesome rogue. If you want to train blacksmithing or potion brewing, you'll have to find a blacksmith or a herbalist. You get the idea. And even these people have limits, so to learn at really high levels, you'll have to find a master teacher. The teacher system adds a lot of immersion and realism into the world. You can't just learn awesome new skills all by yourself, and you can't just pay gold and magically get more skilled. You have to have some experience and have someone teach you. I'm not going to go into it too much, but later in the line at some point you might get access to magic to use in combat. But for a while the only magic you can use is in the form of rare scrolls that you find out in the world. Besides that, you have abilities that you can use in combat at the cost of focus, which is built up by attacking enemies without getting hit. For example, Wound, where you use your melee weapon to cause bleeding to an enemy so they take damage over time. Or Battle Cry, that gives you a big bonus to damage, movement speed, and attack speed, but lowers your defense by 30% for 60 seconds. For your defensive options, you have your dodge, which uses stamina, and your block if you're using a shield. You also have the parry ability, which can be upgraded to stun an opponent, or make your next attack a critical hit if you can manage to get the perfect block. Lastly, you have your armor and your accessories. You'll find necklaces and rings out in the world that can give you great bonuses like extra armor, more base focused, more powerful shouts, and so on. Armor, on the other hand, is not that easy to find. Having decent armor makes a huge difference in combat, and you'll have to put in some work to get some decent armor. You'll know you hit a milestone when your character notes that they just got their first real armor. As I've touched on before, the world building, atmosphere, and exploration are really top tier. There are different factions with wildly different views, normal people just trying to get by, selfish people out for themselves, people scheming to make their way up in the world, and your character can have a hand in a lot of this. One of my favorite quests that really sounded like a hassle before I ever got there was becoming a hewer, or a miner. One of the factions wants you to do this for reasons you'll find out on your own if you play, but once you get there you can mine silver all you want. But you have to give half of your silver to the leaders. But once you get there you realize that there's a lot of politics going on. Corrupt guards robbing miners for their silver, leaders charging gold or silver just for people to sleep in beds which are supposed to be theirs, and a lot more. There are a lot of really charming quests here that I won't spoil, but there is one that I have to so you can get a good idea of the choices this game lets you have. One of the miners notices that you are new to the area and sees that you've already made some good silver, and he talks you into following him somewhere to talk or for treasure or something. Once you get there, his friend pops out from behind you and they decide to rob you. You can either slap them around and take their silver, or you can talk them into rising up against the corrupt guards who are robbing them anyways. If you do a good job of convincing them, the three of you march up to one of the corrupt guards and demand that they stop robbing everyone. Now you're presented with another choice. Either the three of you team up against the guard to stop the oppression, or you betray the miners and side with the guard, earning you a favor from someone more powerful. I chose to side with the miners, I couldn't help but hate the guard, and after that the extortion for silver is at an end, from that guard at least. Hopefully that quest alone gets you a good idea of all the choices and different ways to solve a quest. Just to throw this in as well, the one corrupt guard was clearly wrong, but most of the characters from any side or faction are written in a way that is morally gray, so while you have a lot of choices on what to do, the choices aren't always easy to make and usually aren't black and white either. Drova is a very unique RPG, with a beautiful world just waiting to be explored, charming characters to talk to, powerful enemies to defeat, and challenging choices to make, and much, much more. The game is only $25 on all platforms and is easily worth the asking price. Drova is one of the best games I've seen come out in a while, and with all the flops from new releases and games filled with lazy writing, it is so nice to see a handcrafted adventure like this one. If you like any RPGs at all, I couldn't recommend this game enough. If you happen to enjoy the video, leaving a like really does help me out a lot. If you have any questions or anything to add, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to see more from me, subscribe. I post once every other Sunday, so I will never clog up your feed. I hope you have a good one. Peace out.